Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. My name is Hakon, and welcome to all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados for another episode of Caverns of the Snow Witch, now with a plastic cover. Um, this is the book I started playing last week. I haven't had any time to play over the weekend, but I had time over the weekend to put a plastic cover on this and the rest of my fighting fantasy collection. There is a video about that too, if you are interested. If you remember from last episode, I managed to die again, although this time I managed to get to the Snow Witch of the title before I did, and I've looked at my map and I think I've identified two places that I need to explore, and I think those two places hold the key to winning the battle against the Snow Witch. Now, this book was, as I think I mentioned in my first episode, started as a short version in Warlock magazine. That is to say, it had the beginning of the game until you meet the Snow Witch, and presumably a little bit afterwards as you escape the caverns of the Snow Witch. All in all, 190 paragraphs, I believe. This book, when you get to the Snow Witch, when you kill her, presumably, which is what I will do today, since I know what I'm doing now, I think. The rest of the book, which is about half of it, or even more than half of it, is about getting out again. And I have no idea what's coming up afterwards, so I'm a bit curious to see what kind of challenges will there be in escaping the mountain, the glacier. I wasn't sure whether to say glacier or glacier there, so I just didn't say anything. Glacier. I'm going to go with Glacier. Is Glacier better than Glacier? Glacier. I'll go with Glacier. So, escaping the glacier and the caves inside the mountain. So I don't know what challenges are coming up, but it will be interesting to see. Another thing, one thing I don't really like about this book, I can say it right away, I've sort of mentioned it before, is that the main character, which is you the hero of the protagonist, so to speak, of the game book, seem to be obsessed with money. I mean, you are not a hero, I don't think, if you're just doing it for the money. So I don't like that. But otherwise, I quite like the puzzle of the game book, and the artwork in this one is absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the best with the of the series, with the sort of woodcut look that I've shown you before, of course. One of the nicest ones is the, if I can find it. Oh, that's very good as well. Look at that. Exquisite work. And oh yes, I did mention in the first episode I was doing this book, it said illustrations copyright Gary Ward and Edward Crosby, and I was sort of saying to myself, oh, I don't know who did which pictures. It turns out they both did them together. One of them did the sort of they both did sketching. They sort of also had discussions what to put in the pictures. They sort of decided on how the general look of them was going to be. And one of them did maybe a little bit more sketching, the other one did more of the inking. So it was a completely collaborative effort, and whatever the case is, they've done really well. And I think the illustrations are, oh, that's one of the really nice ones there. The white dragon, the frost-breathing white dragon that kills you, that killed me the first time I played. Right, so without further ado, that's already quite a lot of ado from me for now, so a bit less of that. I will be ready to play again for the third time Caverns of the Snow Witch in a few moments as I get everything ready on my desk. So, I'll see you in a few moments. Right, I am back again. Well, I've got my book, got my writing paper and character sheet, improvised character sheet, got my map over here, got my cup of tea. Yummy. Got my water, need that too. Because usually this is quite thirsty work, as you know. And I'll be rolling dice for my stats, although I think, based on what I learned so far of this game, I think I probably should overrule almost anything apart from the maximum scores. But that reminds me, there's two things. I need a pen and paper as well. And some... Is that the right pen? Yes, it is. Okay, so first my... So provisions, starting with 10 provisions. Skill. No. Okay, that's fine. I'll just put 12. Oh, no, hang on. 11. I go with 11 because I like having an opportunity to lose a skill check and therefore have to cheat, because that's just the way it goes sometimes. But it's more exciting if you have a chance to lose. I'll just do what I did last time, 11, 11, and 24. So I'll do 11 skill, 11 luck, and 24 stamina. Some room for things going wrong. I'm bringing my potion of fortune again, although I noticed last time when I did a more correct run-through of the game, I didn't have to check luck as many times as I did the first time when I didn't know what I was doing at all. So it's not so bad. Okay, the story so far. The story begins. You know what? It's been a week. I'm just doing this again now. And also I can show off the nice pictures. So there we are. Background. Winters in northern Alancia are always cruel and bitter. The snow falls thick and the icy wind blows hard, chilling everybody to the bone. For the past few weeks, you have been hired by a merchant called Big Jim's son to protect his trading caravans as they roll their way slowly north to the frozen outposts. The horse-drawn carts are laden with cloth, utensils, weapons, salted meat, spices, and tea, which are traded for furs and ivory carvings made from mammoths' tusks. Big Jim is not usually worried about traveling north, as bandits only attack his caravans on the return journey. He is not alone in recognizing the value of the northern goods. On this particular trip, you are walking ahead of 6 carts across a frozen lake. In the distance, you can see the snow-capped peaks of the Icefinger Mountains jutting out of low cloud. Your destination lies at the base of the mountains, where the Northmen meet to trade. The snow is falling, but not too heavily. You stop to prod the ice with your sword to make sure it can bear the weight of carts, when suddenly the shrill call of a hunting horn breaks the silence. You stand up and run back to the carts to talk to Big Jim. He is sitting next to the driver of the second cart, puffing on a long briar pipe. A huge man with a great bushy beard, Big Jim is obviously a man to be reckoned with. His bright blue eyes scan the horizon, searching for signs of life. In a deep voice he says, "Sounds like it came from the outpost. Reckon you better go and investigate. Could be trouble. And get back quick." You set off straight away towards the outpost at the base of Icefinger Mountains. You arrive 2 hours later at the scene of ugly carnage. The snow is red with blood, and all the wooden huts are smashed and torn down. 6 men lie dead, their bodies slashed, their axes at their sides in the snow. Judging by the size of the footprints, the creature that attacked the outpost must have been enormous. There is nothing you can do for the unfortunate Northmen, so you head back towards Big Jim's caravan to report the news. You reach him in an hour, just as the daylight is fading, and relate the terrible events that have befallen the outpost. Big Jim orders the carts to be drawn into a circle to protect his men during the night. A large fire is built into the center of the circle, and you sit down beside it to talk to Big Jim. Everybody is nervous, and a guard is posted to watch for signs of movement outside. In a low voice, Big Jim asks you if you will hunt the terrible creature, for otherwise his business will be ruined forever. You smile and reply that you will track down the beast, but only for a purse of 50 gold pieces. Big Jim's drawer drops open, and it takes a great deal of persuasion before he agrees to your demand. The snow finally stops falling as you settle down for the night. Sleep is a long time coming, for your mind is active with thoughts of the impending hunt. When you wake just after dawn, the fire is reduced to dying embers. Wisps of smoke rise gently into the morning mist, and not a sound is to be heard. You walk over to where Big Dim is sleeping and tap him on the shoulder. He wakes with a start and you tell him that you are setting off and hope to be back later in the day. Famous last words. You wave to the guard as the snow starts to fall again and make your way back to the outpost. Now turn over. Right, so that's how it begins. And let's see if I can remember where I'm going now. So I'm starting here. By the time you reach the outpost again, the bodies are blanketed with snow and the beast's footprints are covered over. The visibility is poor as you set off towards the mountains where you hope to find the abominable killer beast. The snow on the mountainside is soft and you sink in up to your knees as you climb slowly up. You soon find yourself at the edge of a crevasse which is spanned by an ice bridge. If you wish to cross the crevasse by the ice bridge, turn to 335. If you would rather walk around the crevasse, turn to 310, and as we all know, if you walk around you meet a mammoth and it might kill you, like it did me the first time, so I'm going to go to 335. The bridge is quite narrow and very slippery. Test your luck. 9, so that is a success, and my luck is down to 10. There we are. Where was I? Yes. Lucky turned to 41, so I'm going to 41. You tread carefully over the bridge, safely across the crevasse. You continue your slow trek through the snow. Turn to 212. The wind starts to howl, blowing gusts of snow into your face. You put your head down and stride into it. Above the howl of the wind, you suddenly become aware of another sound, the howling of wolves. You draw your sword while trying to peer through the snow, as if out of nowhere 2 snow wolves appear in front of you, hunched ready to pounce. They are completely white except for their blood-red eyes. Suddenly one leaps at you. Fight them one at a time. So there we have our first battle. And snow wolves. My skill and stamina 1124. First wolf is 7 8 and second is 7 7, and I do notice here it says stamina and skill the wrong way around for this one. So this is a typo and it's not clear whether it's just the top line which should have been said skill stamina or it's these numbers that are wrong. I'm guessing most likely it's just the stamina and skill line at the top that is wrong, and this is skill and this is stamina. So that is my interpretation of it. And right, so I am first rolling for the first wolf, doing one at a time. So I'm doing first wolf. 7 plus 4, so that's 11, and I rolled an 8, so he is down to 6. He rolls a 4 again, I roll a 5, he is down to 4 stamina. He rolls a 5, I roll a 9, he's down to 2 stamina. He rolls a 5 again, and I roll an 11, he is dead. Second one rolls a 7, I roll a 5, that is me. Rolls a 4, I roll a 10. He rolls a 5, I roll an 11, and he's got 1 stamina left. He rolls a 6, and I roll a 7. So he is dead. And I win, and I go to 202. You step past the still bodies of the wolves and continue your journey through the swirling snow. The climb becomes steeper and the going is slow. Turn to 337. The snow is beginning to fall very heavily, swirling around in the strong wind. A blizzard is starting. If you wish to use your sword to dig a shelter in the snow, turn to 281. If you would rather press on, turn to 229. And this is where if you press on, you get frostbite, so and stamina and skill damage. So I'm going to dig in right away. You hurriedly cut blocks of ice out of the mountainside and build a makeshift igloo. You crawl into it as a blizzard blows down the mountain with ferocious power. Your body heat is retained inside the igloo and you keep warm. However, you must eat 2 portions of your provisions to regain your strength after the tiring walk. So I do lose a bit of provisions anyway. Let's see, I'm down to 8. An hour later, the blizzard dies down and you crawl out of your shelter to continue your quest. Turn to 169. There we go. Underneath an overhanging rock, you see a small wooden hut built against the side of the mountain. Its roof is piled high with snow, and long icicles hang down from the window ledges. You see a set of deep footprints leading from the hut up the side of the mountain. If you wish to enter the hut, turn to 36. If you'd rather follow the footprints, turn to 190. So this is going into the hut, 36, because there are some important items there that I will need to pick up. The front door of the hut is frozen shut, and you have to batter it with your shoulder to open it. There is only one room inside the hut containing the belongings of a fur trapper. Traps, furs, and sacks are stacked in a corner of the room. A wooden bed, a table and chair, and some cooking utensils show sign of recent use. And the ashes in the fire are still warm. If you wish to put some logs on the fire and warm up the cold stew in one of the pans, turn to 118, which would regain me some stamina. I don't need that. If you would rather leave the hut and continue your quest, turn to 192. So I'm going to go to 192. And as we are about to leave, we discover something important. As you are about to leave the hut, you catch sight of some weapons lying under the bed. If you wish to take a couple of them with you, turn to 255. If you do not wish to be encumbered by the additional weight and would rather leave without the weapons, turn to 263. So I'm going to 255 to pick up some important weapons. You take a warhammer and a spear before leaving the hut. So I've now got warhammer. And without a warhammer, you actually will die, because at some point you meet a crystal warrior and they cannot be injured by a sword, only by a blunt weapon like a warhammer. So spear. 263 is up next. Outside again in the deep snow, you set off on your trek up the mountainside, following the footprints in the snow. Turn to 190. And I think this is a bit of poor numbering here, because you already seen this picture in paragraph 192. And this is where you meet the Yeti, so it's sort of not as much of a surprise as it could have been if the first time you see this picture is when you actually get to it. But there you go. Since it's so early on, it could have been sorted out in a way where you saw this site first at the right time. It's quite a vicious-looking creature. The high altitude and thin atmosphere make you pant for breath as you continue your steady climb. Lose 1 stamina point. Suddenly you hear the cry of a human voice, followed by a ferocious roar. Not far ahead you see a fur trapper fighting for his life against a gigantic bear-like beast with long white fur and sharp teeth protruding from its jaws. So how do I know this guy is a fur trapper? How do I just see someone and say, ooh, I see a fur trapper fighting for his life? That's a bit weird. It doesn't look like a fur trapper either. It just looks you see a person fighting for... never mind. Or a man. But fur trapper, how do you know? Anyway. If you sort of put 2 and 2 together and knew that this was the same person whose hut it was that you just came from, you should say you see the fur trapper fighting for his life. So maybe just the language thing, it should have been... yeah, I think it should have been the fur trapper or a man. Anyway, it is the killer beast that you have been hunting, the abominable Yeti. If you watch the unfortunate trapper being gashed by the Yeti's claws and falling face down in the snow. Incensed by the vicious attack, you scream at the Yeti and run through the snow to attack it. Turn to 77. Are you carrying a spear? If you are, turn to 391. Yes, I am. And if I hit with a spear, I will get a little bit of an advantage. If you have frostbite in your sword arm, turn to 195. If not, turn to 249. So that's a frostbite I would have got, potentially, if I'd continued walking and not made my igloo. Gripping the shaft tightly, you pull back your arm and hurl the spear at the snarling Yeti. Roll 1 die. If you roll a 1, turn to 157. If you roll a 2 or greater, turn to 219. So I roll a 3. That is 219. The spear flies through the air and thuds into the Yeti's shaggy chest. It roars in pain but does not fall. You quickly draw your sword to fight the enraged beast. And this is where, if you didn't hit with the spear, it would have a skill of 11 and a stamina of 12. So you are given a huge advantage in this battle by hitting it with the spear. So, right, so I'm at 1123, and the Yeti is 10-9. And the Yeti rolls first. He rolls an 8, and I roll a 10. So that is first blood to me. Well, second if you count the spear. He rolls a 9. I roll an 11, so that is me hitting him again. He rolls a 10. I roll a 10, so that is still me ahead of the curve. He rolls a 4. I roll a 10. He's got 1 stamina point left. He rolls a 7, and I roll a 12. And so far, I am undefeated. This is a lot better rolling than I did the first few times I played this game, I can tell you that. I was already half down on my provisions by now. Then I win and I go to 67. Oh, by the way, if anyone's interested, this picture, the original drawing of this picture, is actually available for sale on eBay at the moment. Somebody in the Czech Republic is selling it. They've had it in their collection after buying it directly from the artist some years back, and yeah, just in case somebody is interested. Of course, if you watch this video in the future, that is to say, not in March 2020, most likely this would have been sold and not available anymore. So just in case you wondered. But at the moment of making this video, this picture is available on eBay. Right, and I'm getting a bit distracted now. Where was I going again? 67, was it? You kneel down beside the fur trapper and turn him over slowly. His eyes are barely open and blood trickles down from the corner of his mouth. The Yeti has gouged deep wounds in his chest, and you realize that there is no hope of saving him. With a great effort, he reaches up and grabs you around the neck, pulling you down so that you can hear his dying words. It's a bit Hollywood, isn't it? He thanks you for trying to save him and insists on telling you his secret. In terrible pain, he struggles to whisper his story. He tells you that he has lived in the mountains for most of his life, hunting animals and trading their furs. But for the last 5 years, he has been searching for the legendary Crystal Caves. These caves have been cut out of a glacier by the followers of the Snow Witch, a beautiful yet evil sorceress, who is trying to use her dark powers to bring on an ice age so that she can rule supreme over the whole world. So proper evil villain, then. The entrance to the Crystal Caves is high up on this very mountain. It is open, but hidden by an illusion. The unfortunate fur trapper found it by accident only yesterday, when he saw one of the Snow Witch's warriors seemingly walk straight through an ice wall and disappear. The trapper left a piece of fur hanging over the entrance so that he could find it again the next day. Sadly, the Yeti has put an end to his hopes. He asks you to enter the caves to slay the vile Snow Witch and leave her followers without their leader. There are legends about great treasures being frozen into the wall of the Snow Witch's lair, which would provide ample reward. The fur trapper suddenly grips you hard and then falls back silently into the snow. He is dead. You cover him with snow before deciding what to do. 50 gold pieces await you if you return with evidence of the Yeti's death to Big Jim's son, but the thought of a quest through the crystal caves beneath Icefinger Mountains excites you, and you decide to set off to find them. Right, so this is where, of course, he's going for the bigger money, and this is also another reason why I don't like the character here. I don't want to be like this hero here. He's not a hero. He's just a money-grabbing gold digger. So, yeah, not a hero at all. Come on, Ian Livingstone, you can do better than that. It's a role-playing game. Give us a reason to do this without going for the money. Okay. Now that the snow has stopped falling, the sky is clear and blue. The air is cold and crisp, and the snow crunches beneath your feet. Slowly you make your way up the mountainside, looking for the cave entrance marker left by the fur trapper. Suddenly you hear a distant rumbling from above, the terrifying sound of an avalanche. Test your luck. So, luck is now 10, and I roll a 6, so that is lucky. And I go to 163. You look up to see great cascades of snow tumbling down the mountain. Fortunately, the avalanche sweeps down a ridge adjacent to the one you are climbing. Turn to 363. You make your way slowly up the mountain until you reach a rock face that is too steep to climb. You walk around the side until you see a massive wall of ice which completely blocks a gully between two peaks of the mountain, the Glacier. Your heart leaps as you catch sight of the piece of fur left hanging on the wall of ice by the trapper. Although you cannot see the entrance, you walk straight ahead. You shut your eyes as you think you are about to walk into a wall of ice. But you walk straight through the illusion and find yourself inside a long tunnel carved into the ice. You walk down it and soon arrive at a T-junction. If you wish to turn left, turn to 395. If you wish to turn right, turn to 215. Now let's consult my map a little bit now. I think, let's see, there was turn right. Yes, since I am down 1 stamina point, I will turn right because that gives me an opportunity to regain my stamina. So it's not much, but also it's just fun just to show you that bit. Oh, let's see, so 215. The tunnel opens out into a small cavern which is empty apart from a brass bowl resting on top of an ice plinth. The bowl contains a yellow liquid and a wooden ladle. If you wish to drink some of the liquid, turn to 24. If you would rather walk back out of the cavern without drinking the liquid, turn to 56. And we are going to drink, because this might be yellow, but it's not like eating yellow snow. The liquid sends a glow through your body and you feel wonderfully warm. You have swallowed a potion made by the Snow Witch that keep her followers from feeling the cold. Add 3 stamina points. So that means I'm back up on 24. The potion also cures frostbite, so if I'd got frostbite in the blizzard by stubbornly walking on, this is where I could have actually regained my health. Any skill points that you may have lost because of frostbite are now restored. With renewed vigor, you walk back out of the cavern, turn to 56. So, because this is a very short, originally very short adventure published in a magazine, there aren't that many sort of ways of going through the first bit. I mean, it's very linear, which is something I'm not used to. So, which is why I haven't made it any further than I did. Is because I've ignored some bits, thinking that okay, this might be a dead end or a trap. Because I'm so used to that from the other adventures. But because of the way it is, in the first bit here, you really are supposed to explore everything, and I'll get to that when we get to the bits I haven't looked at before. So, you walk past the entrance tunnel on your left and continue on down the main tunnel. Turn to 395. So, the tunnel bends round to the right. As you turn the corner, you almost bump into a tall, pale-skinned humanoid coming the other way. He is wearing a white cloak with a hood pulled over his head. He is a mountain elf, one of the Snow Witch's followers. Would you nod your head at him and walk by nonchalantly? Tell him you have come to join the Snow Witch's followers, or attack him with your sword. Right, so... where am I on my map again now? Let's see, I thought I lost my... yes. Okay, so I'm going to tell him that I've come to join the Snow Witch, because it seems like this guy is definitely not very much under he is under control of the Snow Witch, but not too much. So he's actually sentient enough with his own mind that he knows that the Snow Witch needs to die. So So I'm telling him that I've come to join him, so join them. The mountain elf looks at you in disbelief and says, "Nobody of good heart would wish to join the Snow Witch. I am only here because of this." Throwing back his hood, the elf reveals a metal collar round his neck which glows in the semi-darkness. "Only the obedience collar makes me serve her," he continues in a dour voice. If you wish to reiterate your desire to join the Snow Witch, turn to 22. If you would rather change your story and tell the elf that you intend to slay her, turn to 264. So obviously the witch isn't very good at controlling her followers, because if this collar had worked the way it really should have done, then when really should have tried killing me by now, shouldn't he? I'm going to say that I intend to slay her, so I'm going to 264. The mountain elf looks at you and smiles. "Now you're talking," he says. "Kill her and free us. Here, take my cloak to disguise yourself and follow this tunnel until it branches. Take the right-hand fork. Good luck." You shake the elf's hand and run off down the tunnel. So obviously, yes, not so much control as you would hope to see for somebody with an obedience collar. But there you go. So I'm going to 136. And by the way, I'm quite sure that this is the correct way to do it. If you don't talk to the elf, you just kill him, or you just walk past, you get to another bit. That isn't important, I think. So now in this, if you do what the elf says, you get to something that you need to defeat the Snow Witch. You soon arrive at the fork in the tunnel that the mountain elf mentioned, and deciding to take his advice, you enter the tunnel to your right. Turn to 106. Further ahead, in the left-hand wall of the tunnel, you see a gap. You walk up to it and peer around to see a cave in which a Neanderthal is stripping the skin off a moose, making it ready for the large simmering stew pot behind him. He is working very slowly and is being yelled at by the gnome cook, who is wearing a white apron and waving a wooden spoon in the air. If you wish to enter the crude kitchen, turn to 95. If you would rather creep past the entrance, turn to 267. Now, last time I played this, I crept past the entrance, and I think that was a mistake. I think I need to explore the kitchen to get something I need. So I'm going to go into the kitchen. The gnome runs up to you and shouts, "Get out! Dinner will not be ready for another 2 hours. You'll hear the bell. Mind you look a little worse for wear, so you can have this stale cake if you wish." The gnome points at a piece of cake lying on the table. If you wish to take the cake and leave, turn to 290. If you would rather attack the Snow Witch's servants, turn to 187. And I think I should be attacking them. So I will go to, let's see, 187. As you draw your sword, the gnome yells an order to the dull-witted Neanderthal, telling him to kill you. The Neanderthal grunts and stands up, pushing the table away from him. He picks up a carving knife and a stool as a shield and lumbers forward to attack. And he is... So I'm at 1124 again, and there we are. And he has a 7/8, so he's not a very strong Neanderthal by the sound of it. So he rolls an 8. I roll a 4, that's a draw. He rolls a 10. I roll a 3, so that's him hitting me. He rolls a 3. I roll an 8. No, technically don't need to roll those, but I just like doing it for the rhythm of it. And he rolls a 7. I roll a 6, so that is he getting injured. He rolls a 3, I roll a 6. He's got 2 stamina left. He rolls a 9, sorry, and I roll a 9, so that is the Neanderthal is dead. And a little sip of tea is my reward. Also going to 179. The gnome does not want to end up like the Neanderthal and runs out of the cave shouting for help. We wish to search through the cupboards and risk the gnome returning with reinforcements. Turn to 194. We'd rather leave the cave immediately, turning left into the tunnel. Turn to 198. And I think I need to examine the cupboards, because cupboards have interesting things in them. And in this case, there are not that many things to pick up. So here we are. The cupboards are full of pots, pans, bowls, and spoons. One cupboard is locked, and you have to prise it open with your sword. It contains the gnome's personal possessions, a silver flute, a rune-carved wooden stick painted with blue and yellow hoops, an old withered rose, and an old leather-bound book entitled The Secrets of Toads. So, the flute. The flute was mentioned in one of my playthroughs. There was some mention of a place where you could use the flute. I can't remember where it is now. The rune stick is what I need to defeat the Snow Witch, because it's a stick and she is a vampire. So I'll start with the flute. I'll blow the flute. So I'm going to go to 74. I presume this is one of those places where you can just do the other things afterwards. And you blow into the flute, and a jolly tune comes from it without your having to play a note. You decide to put the magic flute in your backpack, if you have not done so already. So okay, so I've got the flute, so magic flute even. Dum 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 dum. Okay. Read the runes on the stick. So I'm going to go to 345 because the rune stick is the most important thing of all. Your knowledge of runes is limited, and you put the stick in your backpack, hoping to decipher it later, if you have not done so already, etc. So I've got a rune stick. Let's see, surely one of these must be a trap, but which one? The book or the rose? Is the rose poisoned? Is the book... Well, they did say something, the book says something about toads. I'm sort of thinking, am I going to be turned into a toad if I read it? That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to smell the rose, because I have a bad feeling about the book. So, despite being withered, the rose smells fresh and fragrant. As you inhale, you feel as though you are breathing new life into your lungs. Add 3 stamina points, so that is back again to full. And that means I'm going to skip the book. I'm going to skip the book. I have a bad feeling about the book, and so I'm going to leave the tunnel and go to 198. In the distance, you hear chanting voices. Before long, the tunnel ends at the entrance to a large cavern. Kneeling down before an ice effigy in the shape of a demon, their hooded faces pressed to the ice floor in worship, are 10 of the Snow Witch's followers. There are 2 exits from the cave, one to your left and one to your right. If you're wearing a cloak, turn to 384. And I am wearing a cloak because, well, I didn't make a note of it, but the elf gave me his white cloak as a follower white of the Snow Witch. So I'm going to go to 384. You pull down the hood of your cloak as far as possible and walk towards the tunnel exit on your right. Test your luck. So see, that's another luck throw now, and that's the 3rd one without any way of regaining luck. So I'm rolling against 9, and I'm still making it. If you're lucky, turn to 295. I am indeed. None of the worshippers suspect that you are an intruder, and you are able to walk through their temple without trouble. Into the other tunnel, turn to 137. The tunnel ends quite soon at a T-junction. To your left, you can hear cries for help. Oh, T-junction. Let's see. Before it gets cold. All this T-junction, all these mentions of T-junctions, I have to drink a bit of tea. Maybe I should make it like a sort of a bingo thing, like a sort of drinking game. Every time there's a mention of a T-junction, I take a sip of tea. Anyway, right, so to the left, cries for help, and I wish to turn left to help whoever needs help. So I know who it is, and I know that I get something out of it without any risk. The tunnel ends at the edge of a pit, out of which a dwarf is trying to climb, but he keeps on slipping back. The floor of the pit is covered with large ice boulders, which have crashed down from a shaft above the pit. One lands on the dwarf's shoulders, and you hear wild cheers from the top of the shaft as it tumbles onto the floor. The dwarf sees you and shouts, "Curse you, stranger, if you do not aid me. I see that you are not wearing a collar." If you wish to help the dwarf out of the pit... Now, is he wearing a collar, though? I don't know. Doesn't say. Turn to 376. If you would rather ignore his pleas and walk back to the junction, turn to 57. So I'm going to help him because it will give me a sling, which I think will be useful at some point. You lie down and lean over the edge of the pit and tell the dwarf to grab your arm. Much to the annoyance of the spectators above, the dwarf escapes from the pit. You run together back to the junction where the dwarf turns right. You tell the dwarf that you intend to carry straight on to find the Snow Witch, as turning right will lead you back to the Hall of Worship. The dwarf tells you that he must escape quickly and return to his village now that he is free. He thanks you for helping him and hands you a leather bag, then runs off. But before he disappears, he turns and shouts, "Beware the white rat!" And of course we know how that goes if you don't beware of it, because that's the one that caused my demise the first time. So he is giving me a leather bag, and you open the leather bag and find a sling and 3 iron bolts. So sling plus 3, I'll just say plus 3. I know what that means. You pack them away and set off along the tunnel. Turn to 125. The tunnel through the glacier. Yes, Glacier. I was going with Glacier, wasn't I? The glacier soon leads into the mountainside itself, and the walls change from ice to bare rock. You enter a large cavern which has 3 other exits leading from it. One to your left, one to your right, and the main one, carved as a giant skull, lying directly opposite. As you enter, an ugly robed man steps out of the mouth of the skull, holding a glass prism in his outstretched hands. He commands you to turn back, as only the Snow Witch's personal servants are allowed inside the mountain. If you have a magic flute, you may wish to tell him that you have been asked to come and play it for the Snow Witch. Ooh, I haven't tried that one before. Or you may attack him with your sword. Okay, so that is a new one that I have not tried before. So the flute is, so I say that I will, let's see, where am I on the map now? Let's see, 299. I'll try the 299 one because that is a new one on me. So just to see what happens. I know I'll be fine without it. Right, so the man nods his head and tells you to follow him. He walks towards the left-hand exit and points down the tunnel, telling you that the Snow Witch's chamber is at the end. If you wish to walk into the tunnel, turn to 214. If you'd rather draw your sword to attack him, turn to 156. And of course, this is another reveal that shouldn't be there. This picture, you shouldn't see that until later, because it's, yeah, it's when you see the Snow Witch. So, some bad planning in the numbering here. That could have been done better. And I haven't seen that in the other ones I've played. That's not been a real problem. So, 214, so which is that on my map anywhere else? I don't think so. Let's see. So okay, I need to make a note on my map now for the first time, really. So this gives us the option of 214 or 156. So 156 is the same as the other one. 214 is different. So I'll go to 214 and see where that leads me. Okay. Ah, yes. So as soon as you step into the tunnel, an iron grill drops down behind you, barring your retreat. The man laughs out loud and says, "You were foolish to think you could trick me so easily when all the world can see you are not wearing your obedience collar. Now, intruder, you are trapped." But they wouldn't see I'm not wearing the collar because I was wearing my cloak. Oh. There's nothing you can do but find out what lies at the end of the tunnel. So, right, so obviously that's not the right choice. I'm not sure if this is going to be a game-breaking thing where this will mean an automatic fail. So, but just to be sure, I'm actually going to go back to my save game that I did before I said I wanted to play the flute, and I will attack him. So, I'm going to let's see, 323 to see if I can find the other one. Should be on the map now, shouldn't it? Because this is the same as 323. No. Oh, yes, 323. Okay. So I'm going to attack him and go to 156. The ugly man sneers as you draw your sword. He rubs the prism and suddenly 3 identical images of himself appear. They walk towards you. Each one has a dagger raised in his right hand. 2 of the images must be illusions, but which will you strike with your sword? So I think I've tried left and middle now, haven't I? So the only one I haven't tried yet is the right one. So I'm going to strike the man to your right, so 232. The illusionist screams in pain as your sword cuts into his side. He drops to the floor as his other 2 images fade away. As you step over him, he starts to laugh and stands up, his wound completely healed. If you wish to thrust your sword at him again, turn to 261. If you wish to try to smash his prism, turn to 72. So, that is, let's see, I'm going to go to a little addition to my map there. Sorry, that's a bit out of shot, isn't it? So you can't really see what I'm doing there. But yeah, I was just putting a line from the one I hadn't tried before to 232. Okay. I'm going to try to smash his prism and go to 72. And this is, of course, what I wouldn't have been able to do if I'd said I'd play the flute and go trapped in the corridor there. And also, I think, yes, yeah, it's another thing as well, because if you go to the side corridor, you don't go through the middle, and I think you have to go through the middle to get something as well. So, you pretend to give up the fight and then suddenly leap at the illusionist, catching him momentarily off guard. You manage to snatch the prism out of his hands and throw it onto the floor. It shatters into tiny pieces, and the illusionist turns and flees into the skull mouth, screaming at the top of his voice. Smoke rises from the shattered fragments of the prism and forms itself into the shape of a bald fat man, a genie. Hovering in mid-air, he bows and thanks you for releasing him. 10,000 years. He tells you that if you call on him, he will make you invisible. Just once, as a token of his gratitude. So just a single wish in this one. And only the wish that he says you can get. Without saying another word, the image shimmers and disappears. You now have to decide which way to head. So now I've got a genie invisibility. There we are. So will I enter the tunnel to your left, to the right, or the middle? So I've tried the sides, and I think they are basically traps. And they're not very long, and they sort of go around. So this is one of the sides is where you were led actually by the old man, by the ugly man, I think he was called, wasn't he? I'm going to enter the tunnel with a skull mouth, so that is 288. The tunnel soon leads into another cavern where you see a huge white bearded man wearing white furs lifting a wooden chest onto a high shelf. He is a frost giant. There is only one other exit out of his lair via a tunnel in the opposite wall. If you wish to run through his lair into the tunnel opposite, turn to 243. I think I did that last time, didn't I? Did I do that last time? Yes, I did. And that doesn't seem to give me anything. So I wish to attack him this time and go to 112. If you have a sling and wish to use it against the frost giant, turn to 373. So I'm going to try using my sling because it's like David and Goliath, isn't it? David used a sling to slay the giant. Did work for him. You place an iron ball in the sling and twirl it around your head before releasing it at the frost giant. Roll 2 dice. So this is a skill test. I rolled a 3, so that's a successful skill test. And I go to 12. Let's see. So I have to put my thing here on my map. Test. Skill. And Let's see. Yes, no. So, the iron ball flies through the air and hits the frost giant on the temple. His huge frame crumples to the floor like a house of cards. The wooden chest he was lifting breaks open, spilling its contents. You find 3 ornate rings and a cracked bottle which emits a sweet-scented odor. If you should try any of the rings, turn to 65. If you'd rather walk through the next tunnel, turn to 338. I want to try one of the rings. There was a mention of rings when we got to the dragon. Having rubbed the bottle and sniffed your fingers, why would I do that? You decide that it is only perfume inside. Oh well, silly me, at least I didn't die from that. You examine the 3 rings and decide which one to put on your finger. Will you put on the gold ring, the silver ring, or the copper ring? So I've got... let's see, so I'm... got silver... let's see, 21, 159, and 130, copper, silver, gold. Now, I know from the encounter with the dragon, from the questions asked, that apparently gold and copper are both things that can give me an advantage, it seems. Therefore, I think the silver ring must be the negative effect, and the gold and the copper are the positive effects, which is quite a common thing to do. Just so you have 2 things that are good, 1 that is bad for you in a collection of things. So you have to sort of guess which one is the wrong one to pick. I know there was no tea junction, but my tea is getting cold. I'm going to start by putting on the gold ring. You're now wearing a magic ring which will enable its wearer to resist the effects of freezing cold. Add 1 luck point. I'll need that. And then I may put on the copper ring, so that's 130. And I will not put on the silver. You're now wearing a magic ring which has the power to summon a warrior to your aid once only. So that is a warrior 1 charge. Okay. So I know I can use that with a dragon, at least, if not nowhere else, so that's good to know. Add 1 luck point again, so that is up to 10. So this is one of the few places where you actually get luck points then. So that is, let's see. So gold plus 1 luck, copper plus 1 luck. Not checking out the silver right now. So I'm going to walk through to the next tunnel, and that is 338. You soon arrive at a crossroads in the tunnel. However, you have no time to examine the left and right branches, as a strange humanoid is advancing towards you from straight ahead. Turn to 59, so there is our crystal warrior, against whom, or which, depending on what you call it, you would need a warhammer. And of course, this is the picture that is available on eBay right now. Was a bit tempted by it, but I can't afford it right now. So after buying all the books, I don't have any money at the moment. Before you stands a crystal warrior, one of the Snow Witch's personal guardians, who has been sent to deal with you. He is made of quartz, which has been animated by the Snow Witch's sorcery. Edged weapons will not harm the crystal warrior. Your sword is useless. If you possess a warhammer, you may succeed in smashing the crystal warrior to pieces. Still quite a strong foe to beat. So I've got 1124. He's got 1113. So it's quite an even battle in terms of dice rolls. So I'll roll for him first. He rolls an 11. I roll a 4. No. He rolls a 5. I roll a 7. He rolls a 7. I roll 5. He rolls a 6. I roll a 4. He rolls a 6, I roll a 9. He rolls a 10, I roll a 7. He rolls an 8, I roll a 9. He rolls an 8, I roll an 11. He rolls a 9, I roll a 6. He rolls 9, roll a 4. My stamina's down to 12, his is 5. He rolls a 7, I roll a 10. His stamina is 3. He rolls a 7, I roll a 7. That's a draw. He rolls an 8, I roll a 12. Should be extra damage for 12, I think. If I make my own game book, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do fumbles and, what do you call it the other way around? Critical hit, I suppose. He rolls a 4, I roll a 7. I got a bit distracted there. There we are. So he is dead. I don't know if I messed up my rolls there because I got distracted by talking, but I think that should be okay. Right. So I'm actually down to 12. Well, when I got 148, I suppose I could eat now, couldn't I, before I go any further? What was I thinking? Yes, I need to eat something. So there's 4. You get 4 stamina back for each provision you eat. I'm down by 12. So if I eat 2, I've got 6, and I'm up to 18. Yes, that'll do, I think. I don't want to eat too much in case I find somewhere where I can get more stamina back. So, right. I went and I got 148. So, step over the pieces of broken quartz that were once the Crystal Warrior and carry on along the tunnel until it ends at the T-junction. If you wish to go left, turn to 150. If you wish to go right, turn to 368. Let's see, so that is, yes. Excuse me. This is where I want to go right. I haven't gone right there before, so I want to go right. Let's see, 83. A man comes to the... Oh, hang on. Did I skip something now? 368. Sorry, I looked at the wrong thing now. The tunnel ends at the wooden door, which is locked. You press your ear to it and hear the sound of feet slowly shuffling across the floor. If you wish to knock on the door, turn to 83. That's what I was going for, actually, because I made a note of that. If you'd rather return to the junction, head straight on, turn to 150. So I'm going to go to 83. Oh, hang on, I did go here last time, didn't I? Yes, I did. I did go here last time. Because this is the yes. A man comes to the door because it's where you get what you need to defeat the dragon without actually fighting it. A man comes to the door. His skin is sickly grey-white color. His vacant eyes and slow movements are definitely those of a mindless zombie. If you wish to attack him, turn to 62. The zombie picks up a club from behind the door and shuffles forwards to fight you. Skill 6, stamina 6. Mine is now 11, 18, and his is 6, 6. So he rolls an 8, I roll a 7. He rolls a 7, I roll a 5. And he rolls a 9, I roll a 5. Yes, that's still me. So he is dead, well, or deader than he was before. If you win, turn to 200. You may escape. Yeah, it says escaping is not a good idea in this case because you want to win this and you want to find the things that he had. The zombie was probably in charge of the storeroom that the door opens into. Jars and bottles of various shapes and sizes line the walls, and many boxes and barrels are stacked up on the floor. You search quickly through them and find little of interest except for a jar of ground minotaur horn, some garlic, a box full of teeth, a jar of pickled lizard's tails, and 4 large dragon eggs. As you will not be able to fit everything into your backpack, you may only take 3 of the items. Leaving the room, you walk back to the junction and head straight on. So I'm going to pick up the garlic, the minotaur horn, I know both of those are useful. For the last item, I'm not sure if any of them are actually necessary, because usually when you get a chance to pick up different items and select, one or two, depending on the number, are things that you don't need, and the other things are things that you definitely do need. So, but I'm going with the dragon eggs again, even though I still don't know if that has any bearing on the game. So, 150. The tunnel ends at the wooden door which opens when you turn the handle. You walk into a massive high-ceilinged chamber which ends in a wall of ice. In the center of the chamber is an open marble sarcophagus with its lid propped up against its side. A white rat suddenly jumps out of the sarcophagus and runs towards you. It stops in front of you and starts to grow and change shape. If you possess any ground minotaur horn, turn to 52. I am indeed in possession of some of that sacred powder. You remember an old legend that ground minotaur horn is the only substance that can stop a metamorphosis spell from working. You quickly sprinkle some on the growing creature and relax a little as it shrinks back to a white rat again. The legend was true. Intrigued by the open sarcophagus, you decide to walk over and examine it. Turn to 297. Now, of course, if they planned this right, this is the first time you should see this picture, but there you go. As you approach the sarcophagus, a woman's eerie laughter echoes round the chamber. A beautiful woman wearing white fur slowly rises out of the sarcophagus, and when she smiles, you see the telltale fangs and realize with horror that the Snow Witch is a vampire. If you have some garlic, turn to 210. I do indeed. The Snow Witch recoils from the garlic, giving you time to think. You know that a vampire can only be killed by driving a stake through its heart. If you possess a carved runestake, turn to 34. I do indeed. Taking the stick from your backpack, you thrust it at the heart of the Snow Witch. If your skill is higher than 10, it is, turn to 4. If your skill is 10 or less, turn to 123. So I'm turning to 4. I'm guessing if your skill is a bit lower, you would have to roll against skill maybe to do this. The stake pierces the Snow Witch's heart, and her death wail makes you shudder. She starts to decompose, and soon all that is left is a pile of dust on the floor. You see a vague shape in the wall of ice at the end of the chamber and decide to investigate. Is that it? Oh, she died. Turns to dust. Oh, let's go investigate. Yeah. Okay. 235. You see frozen into the ice wall an ornate trunk, open and filled with gold and jewels. You hack away at the ice until you reach the trunk. A golden idol is the first thing you pick up, but suddenly it bursts out of your hands and changes into a golden warrior, a sentinel left to guard the treasure. See, that's what greed does here, isn't it? So I've got 11, 18. He has got 9. It's another nice picture in the interesting style of this book. Right, so he rolls 3, I roll 4, it's down to 7, he rolls 9, I roll 5, so that is me injured for 2, he rolls the 4 again, I roll the 4, that is my hit, he rolls a 7, I roll a 4, that is me getting injured. 6 and 6, so that is down. He's down to 3. He rolls a 2, yay! I rolled an 8, so he's down to 1, and he rolls an 11, and I rolled a 10, which means I actually beat him. And there we are. So I'm now down to 14 stamina, and I'm eating another provision up to 18 again. And I win and I go to 171. So, and I see I've forgotten to do my mapping there now. So let's see, there's some bits in between what I've got. on this bit here. Let's see, missing. Just do like that. And like that. 171. Okay, so the guardian of the Snow Witch's treasure is dead, and you are free to help yourself to her riches. Although there is a limit to how much you can carry. You decide to fill your backpack with gold pieces, and you count 600 in all. However, for each 50 you take, you will have to remove one item from your backpack and leave it behind. So this is... I don't like the greed of this character at all. It's just a bit sort of silly. What do I leave behind? So, and I've got A, it says T. So this is sort of choosing what items you don't need later, I guess, in a way. But I'm not going to go with the greed. I'm going to be happy with the 50 gold I get. I'm not going to remove anything from my backpack because I don't like this greed. So I want to be a hero. I don't want to be a money-grabbing mercenary. Right, so just as you finish filling your backpack, you hear the sound of running feet coming down the tunnel towards the chamber. You stand up and draw your sword, wondering if you can survive much more hard combat. Two men suddenly appear at the door, a dwarf and an elf, but they do not look as though they are about to attack you. They are smiling broadly, and they both try to speak at once, the elf finally taking command. You have killed her. We are free. We will soon be able to take off our obedience collars. Now we wish to repay you, friend, by helping you to escape. You cannot leave the caverns by the way you came, because the Snow Witch's followers are waiting for you, and the tunnels are alive with goblins. Why would they be waiting for me? Because now surely nobody would follow her without the obedience collar, and now that she's dead, then they wouldn't have to obey her anymore. That doesn't make any sense. A little bit contrived, perhaps. Our fellow elves and dwarves are battling against them now to give you time to flee. We must waste no more time. To your surprise, the elf walks straight towards the cavern wall opposite the door and appears to pass right through it. Another of the Snow Witch's illusions, comments the dwarf, an escape route she never got the chance to use. The trouble is, we've never used it either. The dwarf laughs to himself and walks towards the wall, you following behind. Walking through the illusion, you find yourself in a narrow torchlit tunnel, which you walk down in single file. It soon ends at the junction, and you discuss which way to turn left, etc. I think I'll start a new page of map, because it's sort of like a different section of the game. So, this is 171. And now you're turning left. All right. Okay. Oh, junction. Not T-junction. Doesn't say T-junction. I'll still have my last sip of tea. So, left 61 and right 388. Oh. Firetop Mountain? What's Firetop Mountain doing here? Anyway. Left or right? I'm going to go left today. As you walk along, the elf introduces himself. My name is Red Swift, and he is known as Stub, he says, pointing to the smiling dwarf. We met here as slaves in the service of the vile Snow Witch. We both now hope to return to our villages. I live in the Moonstone Hills, and Stub comes from Stonebridge. If we manage to escape from these infernal caverns, you are more than welcome to come and stay with us. Well, not really infernal, are they? Because they're so cold. So, shouldn't you really call them frigid caverns? Or frosty. Stonebridge is on the way to my village in the hills. It's also a long way off. Before Redswift can continue, Stubb shouts and points to an orb lying on the floor. It is made of glass, and in the torchlight it seems to glow with swirling colors. Leave it, commands Redswift. We do not need it, and it could be a trap. If you wish to ignore Redswift's advice and pick up the orb, turn to 48. But rather keep on walking, turn to 166. We've got 48 orb or 166 walk. I'll go with his advice. I'm going to keep on walking. And of course the orb might be exactly what you needed to get out, but I won't know that until later. After walking for another 5 minutes, the tunnel turns sharply right and right again, a few meters further on. You soon arrive at a junction, and after a discussion you decide to turn left rather than continue straight on. Turn to 259. So 259. Placed against the left-hand wall of the tunnel, you see a large iron casket with a brass handle in the shape of a serpent. No one volunteers to open the casket, so you decide to draw lots. Roll 1 die. So, if you roll 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Okay, so I'm just going to roll and see what happens. I roll a 1. Let's see. So we have 3 options there. So roll 1d6. That should really be in blue, but so 73, 1, 2, 196, 3 to 4, or 353, 5, 6. So I rolled a 1, so I'm going to 73. Unfortunately, you draw the short straw. Lose 1 luck point. Yeah, well, why am I losing 1 luck point? It shouldn't be 1 luck point until I actually find out that this is a bad thing. And also, if it's so unlucky, why would you draw lots about it in the first place? As soon as you touch the casket's handle, it comes to life. An asp wraps itself around your hand, and before you can shake it off, it sinks its poisonous fangs into your wrist. That's so predictable, isn't it? Lose 4 stamina points and 1 skill point. Right. If you're still alive, you manage to stagger up down the tunnel. So why did we do this in the first place then? Why? Ooh, let's see. There's a big red button that says don't touch. Who's going to touch it? Oh, come on. Okay. 10 to 20. Okay. I would have just not done it if I'd been them. So okay, that is contrived, and that's a terrible non-choice there. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So terrible writing, that paragraph and that bit there. Right. So I'm going to go down the tunnel and go to 20. The tunnel soon ends at a T-junction. Stepping into the cross passage, you almost bump into a primitive-looking man wearing furs and carrying a large stone club. He is a caveman. You draw your sword and tell Redswift and Stubb to head quickly down the right-hand tunnel while you deal with the caveman. Okay. Why not help you kill him? Well, hopefully they'll do their bits then. Let's see. Now I've got 10, 14, and he's got 8, 8. So he rolls a 6, I roll a 9. He rolls a 3, I roll a 7. He rolls a 10, I roll a 7. He rolls a 10, I roll a 6. He rolls a 5, I roll an 8. He rolls a 7, and I roll a 6. So that is him dead, and I should consider eating a bit more. So I'm eating 3 rations, and I'm up to 22 stamina. Oh, I could escape. Ah, okay. Never mind. So I win. Go to 141. Win, and escape is 365. Escape. So I won, and I go to 141. A pouch on the caveman's belt contains a star-shaped metal disc, which you decide to put in your backpack. Okay, so that might be a useful thing. Disc. So, disc. Not wishing to meet anymore. This is also not a logical flaw, of course. Every time now that you pick up a new item, wouldn't you have to leave 50 gold pieces? Just saying. Right, so I'm going to catch up with Red Swift and Stub and go to 365. The tunnel ends at the door, which swings open before you even touch it. You look into a cavern and are surprised to see Red Swift and Stub kneeling in submission to a horrible robed creature with an octopus-like head. Two of its tentacles are wrapped around your friends' heads, and they are trapped by the hypnotic powers of the Brain Slayer. If you're wearing an Amulet of Courage... Okay. Is there such a thing? So, Amulet... Courage, and so no, or yes, so that's 189 or 126. No, I'm not wearing an Amulet of Courage. I am quite courageous enough as long as I get paid. The Brain Slayer's disgusting tentacles flail frantically as it concentrates its mental power in an effort to draw you towards it. Unable to resist, you walk in a trance towards a hideous creature. What's that got to do with courage, though? You can only watch helplessly as it wraps one of its tentacles around your head. You feel weak and soon black out as the Brain Slayer begins to feed on your brain power. Lose 2 skill points and 6 stamina points. 8 and 16. If you're still alive, turn to 213. So... Okay. You wake to find Red Swift and Stub lying unconscious on the floor. There is no sign of the Brain Slayer. You groan as you try to sit up. The pain in your head is almost unbearable. Your 2 companions eventually come round. They're obviously suffering too. They explain that the Brain Slayer drew them into the cavern and they were powerless to resist. You examine the chamber and see another door opposite in the far wall. There are also 2 clay pots in the recess in the wall, one red and one grey. So, I've got open the door or examine the pots. So... Okay, 176. Door, red pot, 101. Red, and 344. Grey pot. Okay, I'm going to start with the grey pot. Lying at the bottom of the grey pot is an old parchment scroll with an unbroken wax seal. If you wish to break the seal and read the scroll, that could be a curse. Turn to 244. So, okay, 224. So read. Or I can look in the other part, or go to the door. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it and see what it says. As soon as you begin reading the scroll, the writing starts to fade. Roll 2 dice, and if that's a skill check, roll a 3, so that's a success. Let's see, so test skill. And 247 success, 396 fail. Before the writing fades away, you learn a spell which will protect you against an attack by an air elemental. Add 1 luck point. Okay, that is good. You memorize the words Gul Sang Abi Dad. Okay. So Gul Sang Abi Da. And then decide what to do next. Okay, so so that is a good thing. That's a +1 luck and spell. So now I may go to I'm going to check out the red pot as well. Lying at the bottom of the red pot is a square metal disc, which you decide to put in your backpack. Okay, so that's another metal disc. So square. Which shape was the other one again? With star shaped. I think I forgot to put it on my. No, 141. I'll just check. Star shaped. Okay, so star, square, and star. So I've got 2 different metal discs and 2 different shapes. So star disc and square disc. Right. So, which leaves going to the door, 176. Okay. The door opens into yet another tunnel, and you begin to wonder whether you will ever find your way out of the caverns of the Snow Witch. You look at Red Swift and Stubb, but they do not appear to be very concerned. The tunnel soon ends at another door, and you notice a dagger sticking out of its oak paneling. Wish to pull the dagger out of the door, turn to 55. If you rather open the door, turn to 285. Okay. So 55, dagger, 285, open. I'm going to ignore the dagger for now and go to 285. A door opens into another tunnel which leads off into the distance. Stubb begins to complain about being tired and hungry, so you decide to sit down and rest. If you still have 3 portions of your provisions, you eat 1 yourself and give 1 each to... I don't have 3. I only got 2. Okay. After resting for half an hour, you set off again, and eventually the tunnel ends at a T-junction. If you wish to go left, turn to 298. So 298 left, and 135 is right. I'm going to turn right. The tunnel ends at another door. An old piece of parchment is pinned in on it. There is faded writing on the parchment, but you do not understand the language. Knowing that elves speak many languages, you ask Redswift to try to read it. As he reads, his eyes widen with terror. You ask him what is wrong, but he refuses to reply. He rips the parchment off the door and tears it into tiny pieces. He turns the door handle and says, "You can't tear parchment into tiny pieces because parchment is made out of animal hides, and it's unterrible. Pretty much. You can tear paper into tiny pieces, not parchment." Right, it's a Hollywood thing, tearing parchment into pieces. He turns the door handle and says, "Let's get going, there is no time to lose." You and Stubb look at each other and shrug your shoulders, deciding simply to obey the troubled Redswift. The door opens into another tunnel. After walking down it for a few meters, you come to a place where water is dripping down continuously from stalactites overhead. If you have a shield, turn to 230. Okay, so shield. I do not have a shield. So again, just like in the first part of this game, I again find myself lacking some of the items referred to here, which means that there are bits of the earlier part here where I should have gone another way. So nope, shield 79, and yes, shield 230. No shield 79. The water looks harmless enough, but you do not relish the thought of being wet as well as cold. But you have no choice. You must walk under the gentle waterfall. As you do so, you suddenly notice your clothes are beginning to smoulder. You start to run as you realize that it is not water dripping down, but deadly acid. A trap, no doubt, devised by the evil Snow Witch to deter runaway servants or slaves. You cry out in pain as the acid burns into your skin. Lose 4 stamina points. Still alive, turn to 383. Well, this is probably the time to eat my last 2 rations, actually. So I'm going to go up to 20. And it looks like a potion of fortune wasn't what I needed the most, apparently, in this game when I played it the way I'm doing now. Right, so 79. So that is minus stamina minus 4. And then I'm going to 383. By the time all 3 of you have run through the acid shower, you are very demoralized. Lose 1 luck point. Nevertheless, you press on resolutely. Turn to 339. The tunnel runs straight on until it opens out into a cavern. The walls are covered with ice and the large glass globe stands on an iced plinth in the center. Suddenly an orc runs into the cavern from the tunnel opposite and the globe immediately starts to radiate light. The outline of a face takes shape in the globe, one which you recognize, the Snow Witch. Her encased head starts to laugh, and then you hear her speak. In a chilling voice she says, "Although you killed me, you have not defeated me. My spirit can still defeat you. Watch carefully." The orc, who is standing by the globe, grips the metal collar round his neck and cries out, gasping for breath. His green face bulges as he desperately tries to stop the collar tightening. His efforts are futile, and he soon falls silently to the floor. The Snow White's image sneers contemptuously and says, "I have no use for servants any longer, and I know that 2 of you are still wearing my obedience collars. I will enjoy watching you die next. As a forerunner to the agony I have in store for you, your impudent warrior friend. As a forerunner to the agony I have in store for your impudent warrior friend. You refuse to watch Red Swift and Stub die helplessly, and you rack your brain to think of a way to overcome the spirit of the Snow Witch." So, the options are... let's see, where are we? 3... Hang on. Did I make a note? 380? Did I forget to put something on my map again now? Yes. So this is 382 goes to 300 and, oops, wrong color, 339, which gives us the following 3 options. Try to smash the globe with your sword. Fire an iron ball from your sling at the globe. Try to run through the cavern into the opposite tunnel. Okay, so 304, run, 216, sling, or 244, smash. I'm going to go with the sling, 216, to see what happens. You quickly load your sling and aim at the globe. Roll 2 dice, and this is a skill check against 8 now, and I make it. So test skill, and we have okay 375. Fail or 282. Succeed. So I'm successful and I go to 282. The iron ball flies straight and true. When it hits the Snow Witch's globe, a bolt of white light shoots out from the globe towards you. Well, this is where if you'd used your sword, it would have hit you directly, wouldn't it? Test your luck. So rolling against 9. I'm rolling an 8. So I was lucky and my luck was down to 8. So there we are. So test luck. And then we have 84. Unlucky. 193. Lucky. Okay. You quickly dive onto the floor and watch the energy bolt pass overhead and slam into the cavern wall behind you. Turn to 336. So there we are, 336. You sit up and see the Snow Witch's globe is cracked, but she appears to have come to no harm. She watches you carefully, ready for your next move. Turn to 262. 262. As you try to stand up, the Snow Witch concentrates her powers on Red Swift and Stub. Their metal collars tighten and they both clutch their throats as if gasping for breath. You struggle to your feet, yelling insults at the Snow Witch, mocking her cowardly way of dealing with defenseless slaves. You challenge her to a combat of whatever type she wishes. She laughs, saying, "Even though I have beaten you, I enjoy games. I will play." She releases her stranglehold on Red Swift and Stub and falls silent, obviously devising some fiendish contest. Suddenly you hear the sound of shuffling footsteps coming from the tunnel opposite. An elf and a dwarf enter the cavern. They look almost identical to Red Swift and Stub, except that their vacant looks and putrid white flesh indicate that they are both zombies. The Snow Witch tells you to fight them while she invents a game for you to play. The zombies lumber forward, and you are forced to fight the terrible replicas of your friends. So, both zombies at the same time. Okay, so this is not going to go well, is it? So, my current stats are 8 skill and 20 stamina, and I'm fighting an 8, 9, and a 9, 9 zombie. So, the dwarf zombie rolls a 10. Elf zombie rolls a 2. So that's 18 and 11 attack score. And I roll a 9. So that's 17. Well, I'm doing the dwarf first, by the way. Which means that I... I forgot what I was doing now. Okay, I'll just start over because I wasn't paying too much attention. So, okay. So the dwarf, I'm fighting the dwarf first, and they're both fighting me. Right. So the dwarf rolls a 6. The elf rolls a 12, and I roll a 7. So that means I hit the dwarf, and the elf hits me. The dwarf rolls a 3, elf rolls a 9, I roll a 10, which means that I injure the dwarf, but the elf is parried. Dwarf rolls an 11, elf rolls a 7, I roll a 4, which means both of them hit me, and I am down to 14. Dwarf rolls a 6. Elf rolls a 7. I rolled a 12. Dwarf rolls a 3. Elf rolls a 9. I rolled a 7. So that is the elf injuring me, but I'm injuring the dwarf. And dwarf rolls an 8. Elf rolls a 3. I rolled a 7. So that is the dwarf injuring me. Dwarf rolls 5. Elf rolls 11. I rolled a 4. That's both of them injuring me. Dwarf rolls a 7. Elf rolls a 9. I rolled a 6, and that is both of them injuring me again. Dwarf rolls 4. Elf rolls 5. I rolled a 7. Dwarf is dead. And I can fight the elf, but I've only got 2 hit points left. And I don't have a potion of health, so... elf rolls 10. I roll a 4, and I am dead. So, there we are. That is the end of another run at these hands of these handsome 2 zombies here. Right, so there are a few annoying things in this book now that I don't like, but I'm still curious to see how to get out of this place. And I will find out at some point. Because I could have cheated now and said that I won the combat, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave this for a few moments before I do one more run. And I'll probably do a sort of a speed run where I just skip almost straight to the bit where I kill the Snow Witch and then do it from there, because that's where all the new things are now. I think I've actually been everywhere pretty much in the section before you get to the Snow Witch and you get to use the stake on her. And there's still some interesting things I haven't found that should be here somewhere, and there are some things I have found that I haven't had a chance to use yet, and I presume there is some use for it somewhere in the game. So I will do another run later today, maybe, or tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I may have some other things I need to do today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed watching that. I did enjoy playing it, even though there are some annoying things in this book that I don't like now. Like, for instance, the fact that you find a cask and you decide that somebody has to open it, even though nobody wants to, and the only thing that happens is you get injured. I mean, what's that about? If nobody wants to open it, you just leave it. Simples. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you again later. Goodbye for now.